What it is, what it do, cyber world. It is your girl, the one, the only Ash Said It. AshSaidIt.com, AshSaidIt.com. This is the Ash Said It Daily Podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for everyone that has been downloading the podcast across the globe. We picked up Israel this week. That is really, really awesome. So I thank you guys over there, supporting your girl and downloading and getting some inspiration for your everyday life. So, today's guest, I have a very special guest that is all the way from Columbus, Ohio, business lawyer, key negotiator, Kwame Christian. What's up?
Hey, thanks for having me, Ash.
Thanks so much for coming through. I know you got a tight schedule, but I appreciate any time that you got to share with us.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. All right, Kwame. So you've got a lot of titles. You wear many hats. I can identify with that. And there's nothing wrong with that. So where does Kwame's story start off as far as, well, let's start off with the attorney, the lawyer aspect of it. What made you want to be a lawyer?
Oh, you are starting with a really funny question, because I never really wanted to be a lawyer, but yet here I am. So how did that happen? So when I was going through undergrad, I was really interested in politics. So I studied psychology, minored in foundations of law, and minored in Spanish. And I really was found interest in politics. So I was like, okay, what's the best degree combination to become a politician? So I said, I'll get my law degree and I'll get a Master of Public Policy. So I started the program, was going to finish both of those in 3 years, and then halfway through, I started to learn more and more and more about the political process, and I was like, I cannot do this. This would be horrible. And if you're paying any attention this year, you would see that it was a good decision to get out. And so I found myself being sworn in after passing the bar, asking myself, what am I going to be when I grow up? Because I never saw myself actually practicing. So, but one thing I was always interested in entrepreneurship. So I was like, well, let me do a little bit of work for a couple of years. I did social justice work, and then I decided, well, the easiest path to entrepreneurship for me is to start my own practice. And so I started my own business law firm and started working with entrepreneurs. And then, I started to shift my focus more to something that I was always interested in, and that was how people think. And that's why I majored in psychology, and that's why I started to focus on negotiation.
Definitely. That is an awesome story. And I think it's funny sometimes how life will lead you. Like you said, you had no intention of really being a lawyer. But,
right.
As life would hand you, lemons, you make some good lemonade out of it.
Exactly.
You make it happen. So the negotiation consultant aspect of it, what was your drive behind that? Was there a specific event or something that happened?
Yeah. So in law school, I discovered negotiation, and it was like the perfect combination for me because it married my love of psychology with my love of business, because I was able to figure out the way people think for business purposes. So it was perfect. And so I had the opportunity to take some classes. And what really drew me to that, in addition to the psychological aspect, was the utility of it. Because in my opinion, it's the most transferable business skill, because you negotiate all the time. So I was able to use a skill that I learned earlier in the day in a conversation later with my wife successfully. I'm like, whoa, this stuff is magical. And so after that, I decided to compete in these negotiation competitions. And so imagine mock trial, but for negotiation. And it turns out that my school, Ohio State, at the time, it was the second ranked dispute resolution program in the country. I didn't know that because I wasn't interested when I applied. Right. And so I did the competition. My partner and I, we ended up winning the competition at Ohio State. And then we were able to represent the school at regionals in Ottawa, Ontario. And we won that competition as well. And then we made it to the semifinals of the national competition in New Orleans, Louisiana. And so after that, I was just hooked. And it's almost embarrassing that it took me that long to kind of realize, like, hey, that's your passion, that's your talent, that's your skill. Why don't you just make that your own thing? And so that's what I decided to do earlier this year. And that's why I started the American Negotiation Institute and the podcast.
Yes, and I will say that the podcast is amazing. It
Thank you.
definitely opens up people's mind. And, it's funny because the internet connects people in so many ways and so many aspects. You never know who you're going to meet or who you're going to come across. And to come into contact with you and then to find out more and more about negotiation and how, like you said, it's an everyday life. You negotiate every day, whether you want to look at it at that aspect or not. And the podcast is phenomenal. I would
Thank
have to
you.
say that one of my favorite broadcasts of yours is the 7 tips to resolve conflicts. The
Yes,
seven
yes, because
tips.
that's something that everybody can relate with. We're constant wherever there are humans, there's going to be conflict. So we have
Yeah.
to learn how to handle that when the time comes.
Yeah, yeah. So I definitely that was resounding with me. Just because I was a communications major, and for those of you that don't know, I was communications as a human science and had absolutely nothing to do with media whatsoever. But you learn more and more about relationships, business relationships, relationships in the classroom, relationships in your family, and there's really a lot more than just to say, oh, well, that's just dealing everyday life or whatever the case is. But it actually works it out to be a science. It actually
Hmm.
does work it out to be a science. So I think that was really phenomenal. And so, what are your goals for the American Negotiation Institute?
Yeah, so I really enjoy. My passion is teaching people. It's like,
Mm.
yeah, I can step in and negotiate on your behalf as your lawyer, but I really enjoy teaching people how to negotiate. And in the majority of situations, it would be really inappropriate to have a consultant or a lawyer come in and do your dirty work for you. Because imagine if you're a business partner, for example, and you're having an issue with your other partner, and you bring in a lawyer to resolve the dispute. That in and of
Mm.
itself is going to be taken as an act of aggression. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, we're lawyering up now. That's what we're doing.
Mm.
So I prefer to teach my clients how to handle the conversation because this isn't the only time you're going to utilize these skills. It's going to come up later. And when you do it yourself and you maintain that personal connection, it strengthens the relationship. And that's something that a lot of people don't recognize is that negotiation can be used for 3 purposes. You can use it offensively to get more of what you want, defensively to save money and resources, and the most important thing is to strengthen relationships. And so that's why I love doing it. So I'm going to be expanding on the consulting. And so my new tagline is I help people have difficult conversations, or I make difficult conversations easier. And so whenever people find themselves in that position, I'll be there to help.
Absolutely. Now, your journey has been, I would imagine that you've had a lot of pitfalls, a lot of dead ends, and different things within your journey.
Hmm.
What was the most difficult, what's the biggest disappointment that you could say thus far for you?
I would say for me, the biggest disappointment I've had was just really the fact that it took me so long to follow my passion, like my curiosity.
Mm.
Because oftentimes we have this dream, we have this talent, and we hold off because of fears.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important not only to recognize that it's fear that holds us back, it's important to recognize fear of what.
Mm.
So there are many different things. So for me, I had I'm married, have a wife, and we just had a baby. So he just turned 1 like last week. And so, we had a mortgage and a baby. That's not a good time to decide to, quit your job and follow your dream. But, if you have that dream inside of you, I don't believe you should let anything hold you back. And honestly, the fact that I had those type of financial pressures made me work harder in order to monetize faster. And so, yeah, that was one of my fears. The other one was the fear of failure. Not the fear of failure myself, but the fear of the reputation that comes with failure.
Mm.
Because in the legal community, it's very conservative. It's like you go to law school, you get a legal job, you die a lawyer.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's like,
That's
oh,
right.
Kwame, you went to the top law school in the state, and now you are doing your own thing. What happened? Could you couldn't get a job? You couldn't do that? Oh, now
Mm.
you're starting another business? That you're completely getting away from law? What's up with that? And then what
Mm.
if it doesn't work? What do people think? But really, it doesn't matter what
Yeah.
people think. You know, you need to figure out what it is. What's your curiosity? What are your interests, and follow that unapologetically. And the reason it's so important to follow those things is when times get difficult, you can rely on that passion to push you through. You know, so if I'm working on something and it's not paying dividends, like right now I don't get paid for the podcast, but the fact that I love it so much makes me willing to put in a lot of effort because I have that passion, and the passion will fuel you when there's nothing else to fuel you.
Right, absolutely. No, you definitely you hit it spot on. You know, that passion to push forward in what you're doing, because I know that I get emails all the time from people that say, "Hey Ash, you know, I appreciate what you're doing. I like what you're saying. You got this good up tempo beat going on with this stuff, but I've got these 3 kids. I've got this mortgage. I've got this going on, that going on. I'm just one of those people that's not going to be able to follow their dream." And to that, I say no. That's not that is not an
Exactly.
option, because you know what? There's stuff that happens to everyone in life. Everyone's going through something. And at the end of the day, you've got to make that stance on what you want to do. You can sit up there and help everybody else make their millions, or you can figure out how to make your first million.
Exactly. One of the sayings I love is, it's either you work hard to build your own dream, or you'll spend the rest of your life building somebody else's. And
Bam.
that scared me
Yeah.
when I heard it. But yeah, it's one of the other things I like to say is fail faster, because
Yeah.
people often worry that, oh, you know, this isn't the right time, it's not going to be perfect. But perfection is just being a perfectionist is just another form of being a procrastinator. You know, it's just a little bit more elegant.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's never going to be perfect. So go ahead, fail, make adjustments, fail again, make adjustments, and you're constantly perfecting. You know, whenever you think about Simone Biles, the greatest gymnast, female gymnast on earth right now,
Yeah.
when she's on the balance beam, she's never 100% perfectly balanced. Her body is constantly making micro adjustments in order to stay as close to perfect as possible. So if she would have said, "Oh, you know, this my balance isn't perfect. Let me sit here and wait for the Olympics until my balance is perfect," it wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
So just be willing, understand that those failures are going to happen, and just embrace it and make those adjustments.
Absolutely. So, Kwame, who is an inspirational person that has watched your journey, has seen you through and out, and has really been an instrumental person to your life?
There are a lot to mention, but I'll say my mom was always my parents in general, they both were very inspirational and very encouraging. They instilled in me the importance of education at a young age. So my parents, they're immigrants from the Caribbean, so I'm first generation. And so in our culture, you know, especially the Caribbean American culture, it's like, you know, you ain't nothing till you got a degree. So, you know, I knew that was the way I was going to go. And then my dad's a surgeon, and my mom has a PhD in nutrition, so she was a professor. And so I knew that even after undergrad, I knew I wasn't done. I needed to go on and get an advanced degree. So I appreciate that importance of education, and they've pushed me as well. I wouldn't say pushed me, they've encouraged me to follow whatever it is that I'm interested in. So even in my various entrepreneurial endeavors, they were always very supportive. So I appreciate that. And along with my wife too, because being an entrepreneur, it puts you on a roller coaster ride. And so she has a lot of confidence in me when it comes to my ability to get stuff done on the entrepreneurial side.
Absolutely. Yes, we tip our hats to the missus, because we know that she's getting a lot of the other stuff that everybody at work doesn't see you going through. She's actually there with you, and it must be amazing to have a partner that understands you and is loving all through.
Yep.
So that is awesome. All right, Kwame. So, what words of inspiration would you offer to any up-and-coming person that is maybe considering your field, maybe considering another field?
So my field is in law in general, or specifically negotiation?
In law.
Okay. In law, what I would say is you need to make sure you want this. I feel like I got lucky because I was able to find something that I'm interested in that's an offshoot of law, even though going in I knew I wasn't interested in the practice. But a lot of people, they decide, I don't know what I'm going to be when I grow up. So I'm going to graduate and then I'm going to go straight into law school just because I don't know what else to do. Maybe back in the 90s that was a decent decision because, your cup runneth over with opportunities. But now it's very difficult because you're going to be saddled with a burden of over $100,000 in debt with a job market that's very unforgiving. And then even if you do get a job, the opportunities aren't necessarily that great, to pay, and they don't warrant the investment of $130,000 in debt. So what I would say is if you're planning on being a lawyer, make sure you really want it. Really do some introspection and figure out what it is that's motivating you to make that decision. And if you genuinely want to practice law, if you're in it for the love of the game and the love of people, then go for it. If you have any kind of equivocation, wait, take some time and go into the job, the workforce, and figure out where it is you want to go before you drop over $100K on an education.
Amen, because, that student loans are no joke. I know you know.
Yeah. And what's funny is, like, I married a doctor, too. Wow. So our loan debt is laughable. Yeah. I'm living under that burden, so I wouldn't suggest anybody make that decision lightly.
Right. Absolutely. All right, so what is up on the agenda for 2017 and beyond for the organization?
Yeah, 2017 is exciting because this year the goal has been to build trust with my audience, deliver high value, and just position myself well as a thought leader in the space. 2017 is going to be about figuring out ways to monetize, and so the first way is to put out a course focused on business partnerships. So this year I've had the opportunity to consult with a number of business partnerships because, like I said before, what I do, if I synthesize what I do, I would say I make difficult conversations easier. And there aren't very many conversations more difficult than the conversations between partners when it comes to how to divide equity, how to deal with a partner that's not working. How do I maintain the friendship within a business partnership? Can I have business success without losing that? There are a lot of issues that can arise in a partnership, and people have reached out to me to help them either like create a firm foundation or explore whether or not the partnership is a good fit for them. And so that's going to be my focus for the first half because as in my time practicing as a business lawyer, I've seen a lot of good businesses fail because of bad relationships. So I want to be able to work with these companies and help them make sure they're on the same page.
All right. Tanya B. has a question for you, Kwame. And her question is, how do you deal with difficult clients?
It's a great question. And one thing to note about negotiation is that you're going to be negotiating with the people who are closest to you the most. So it's going to be family, friends, and clients. So after I negotiate with them and close the deal, the fun is just beginning. The key is first of all, you need to be patient. These conversations don't happen quickly or easily. You need to, the easiest concession you can give to somebody, and the thing that people are looking for the most, is to be heard. Mm-hmm. And so what I do is whenever somebody has a problem, I don't jump to defend myself. I don't jump to establish conclusions or anything like that. I mean, the thing is, I'm the expert in the relationship. I know the answer better than them. That's why they came to me. But in those situations when somebody's being a difficult client, me just bombarding them with truth bombs, it doesn't make the situation easier. So the first thing is I listen. I need to hear them out. Think about a boxing match. So if you're a boxer and you are punching as hard as you can, you're in a flurry. You can only punch for so long before you need to sit back and take a rest. Right. Otherwise, people would be just punching the entire fight. Mm. The people have a certain reserve of emotional energy, And so if somebody's upset, I'm going to sit back and let you punch yourself out. Then I'm going to ask questions to get to the root of the emotion, because there are two parts to emotion. There's the emotion that lies on the surface, what you see, and then there's something beneath the surface that caused it. We could use the iceberg analogy there as well. And so I'm going to ask questions to get down to the root of that emotion. And then once they expose it to me, I can bring out the solution that solves the problem. Otherwise, if I stand there at the beginning with righteous indignation and I just talk about what I know is right, I'm saying things that I don't even know whether it applies to their specific situation. So there's a difference between being right and solving the problem. And so whenever I'm dealing with difficult clients or difficult conversations in general, my goal is to solve the problem, not end up being right.
Gotcha. All right, and we got another question from Alani. Alani is from Orlando, Florida, and she wants to know if you have any traveling tours.
So traveling tours, no, but if you have invites, I will. Hey. That's one of my favorite things to do is do these negotiation seminars. And so they're really interactive. They're a lot of fun. And then at the end of the seminar, what I do is I create a negotiation simulation. So you actually get a customized situation and you get to negotiate with somebody else in the room. And so then you negotiate for like half an hour or so, and then we debrief, see how everybody did. And what's really interesting is that I've been doing this for a long time, and sometimes I use the same prompts. There's never been a time where two people got the same deal in the room. And it's fascinating to see how that goes. So I love doing speaking engagements. So if there's anybody out there who has a company that thinks might benefit from this or an event, let me know. I'm definitely down.
Alrighty. And I've got one more from Matthew. Matthew wants to know, what is the certification to be a negotiation consultant?
We all have that same certification of nothing. It's branding, really. With law, there are a lot of hoops that you need to jump through. A lot of, there's a lot of legislation in every state with different prohibitions. But when it comes to consulting, it's the wild, wild west. So it's really not a competition of regulation in the majority of industries. When you're a consultant, it's more of a competition when it comes down to branding and positioning.
Gotcha. All right, Kwame. Well, I really appreciate you stopping through and hanging out with your girl. Let everybody know the best ways to reach you and your social medias.
Definitely, yeah. So the best way to reach me is LinkedIn. If you connect with me on LinkedIn, I always personally respond to everybody who connects with me because I want to know what people want to know. I'm a big time negotiation and dispute resolution nerd, so I can really get down into the weeds, but it doesn't do anybody any good if I'm just entertaining myself with this stuff. Right. So I always want to connect with people and see what you're dealing with and how I can help. So it makes my content a lot more focused. And so you can connect with me by LinkedIn. That's one way. Listen to the podcast. It's called Negotiation for Entrepreneurs, but really I focus it more just towards business professionals in general. And then also I have some freebies for your peeps. So if you're starting a partnership, check out, or if you're starting a partnership or if you're already in one, check out my partnership success guide. So if you go to AmericanNegotiationInstitute.com/partnership, you can get that guide. And then for your everyday negotiations, there's a negotiation preparation guide too, because what you'll see is that as you get deeper into this, the difference between having a successful negotiation and an unsuccessful negotiation typically comes down to preparation. And so if I'm even having a 10-minute conversation, I'll prep for about 45 just to make sure that I have my stuff together. And so if you go to AmericanNegotiationInstitute.com/prep, you can get that free negotiation prep guide. And then my Twitter, which is largely dormant for now, but I'm gonna resurrect it in the next couple of weeks. It's KO_Christian. So check that out. But yeah, those are the best ways to reach out to me.
Awesome, awesome. Again, Kwame, thank you so much. Much success in the future. Well, now, you got some family out in the ATL,
Yeah.
because I'm also first generation Caribbean, you know what I'm saying? So we work it out.
Cool, cool. Yeah, I'll give you a ring when I'm down there.
Definitely, definitely. And for everybody listening, I appreciate you guys so very much. Thank you so much for your support, for your love. No matter what it is that you want to do, you can do it. All right. Jump out the gate. Make it happen. All right. No matter where you are, as long as you take those steps, make that leap. All right. That's all it's going to take for you to live your dream and to push forward no matter what. Circumstances means nothing. All right. We all have circumstances. All right. Everybody goes through something in life. Just don't stay defeated. You may get bruised. Don't stay beat down. All right. I love you guys to pieces. AshSaidIt.com, AshSaidIt.com for all your questions, comments, concerns. Info@AshSaidIt.com. And I will hit you guys later on my next little spreak.